My name is Kate Wilson and I'm a painter.
What would you say first inspired you to become an artist?
Probably my dad. I can remember him getting out the acrylic paint and us both painting a windmill, and I remember thinking, why doesn't mine look like my dad's? My dad's was beautiful and mine was very, very sticky. When I was in Winchester, I was making portraits. The way I made paintings was I'd look at what I was wearing that day and then I'd mix up the colours on my clothes. I painted a great big painting of my family sitting around the dining room table. Dad and Mum are asking me, what are you going to do when you leave college? That was the beginning of painting paintings to help me make decisions. And in painting that painting, I decided I wasn't going to go and live back at home with my parents. I was going to stay. I was working on a painting of me and my friend Lindy. It's got little pictures and then it's got us in the middle. We're doing things like eating chocolate mousse in the kitchen. I had Lindy having a bath and me in my bedroom lying on my bed. And that got into the National Portrait Awards, so that was really exciting. I went to the Royal Academy. I started by painting portraits, but then I began to paint London. I got more interested in the whole thing of what it was like to travel about. London was moving so fast. I couldn't draw things that I saw. So my painting, Missing the Bus, I photographed a woman running after a bus. Then when I got married, we went on a romantic trip on the Newhaven to Dieppe ferry. I loved it, so I started painting that and I started painting water. I think the thing that I found fascinating about water was that it didn't stay still. There's the River Wandle which goes down Merton High Street. I'm just surprised people don't shout out with joy, really, that it's there. It seems to me so exciting that you got railings, but they couldn't stop the river from coming out, could they? Is the fact that we try and control our environment a positive thing? We put railings in front of the river, we put protective wire around a tree, and then the tree grows out of it and the wire has to be taken away. It protects it for a time. I like urban trees because there's that interaction with people. People have put them there. As lockdown came up, I was finishing 2 paintings, one planted, which is a tree, and the shopping trolley, and the idea for that was it's just taking a rest against the wall, but it's, in my mind, it's going to carry on across the road. And I thought that's what I need to do, and that gave me the courage to cut back on my teaching, really, and spend more time painting, because that's what I felt I needed to do, and that's enabled me to do this show. So. Green shoots is the hope that there will be some form of new life. I didn't know why I liked them so much until they began to sprout green, and then you see the sap rising. In the end, I realised I was painting green shoots as a way of thinking about my dad. What happens to your body after death, and whether there's anything beyond that. The current show is the work that I've done since lockdown, really. Actually looking at things that I don't consider to be part of the landscape, things that I wouldn't normally want to look at. And maybe it was at a time when I wanted people to look at me more, so can you, through painting something, give something attention? And I began noticing the bins. And then I thought, maybe I'll paint you, we'll just see what happens. They're reminding me of something. They're reminding me of these paintings of veils. And I realised I was going to have to paint in a new way. What if I painted on a black ground and I skidded the paint across it? And the two things are happening. It's exciting in terms of subject matter, but it's also exciting in terms of trying out a new technique. Actually, I found it really lovely to paint them because they are very beautiful. So then maybe I think, oh, maybe my ageing body is worth still looking at, Alongside the bin bags, I began picking up and starting a collection of coffee lids. I just picked up any lid. I made it a rule that if I saw a lid, I would pick it up. Sort of thinking about value and how we don't see things and we just throw things away and they're out of sight, out of mind. Picked up some plastic lids, you know, those takeaway lids. I was just posing them on white pieces of paper and they didn't really work as paintings. Began taking my plastic lids out on holiday to the park and then posing them on grass. I thought the papers that people throw away after they've eaten something are quite interesting. Quite often I'll photograph something as it disintegrates. I think, to be honest, that's going back to that idea of progressing towards disappearing. Where do we go? Disintegration of the body is also related to my father's last illness and the fact that his body really wasn't any use to him anymore. That's something that most of us have to go through, so it's just a meditation on that. It's really interesting how ideas develop. Talked with my mentor about how to get through this phase of not quite knowing what I'm doing. And she said, just play. And I thought my way of playing is by doing small studies and repetition. I do 2 at the same time. I'll paint on them both and then which path do you follow? That sort of acceptance that you don't know quite why you're doing something and you just have to trust that you're going to find out, I think is something that's special to art, special to the creative process. I've had time in the preparation of this show to really hold my nerve and just see what comes out. And that's been really valuable. The process of making a painting is that I always start with drawing. And then what I'll probably do is that I do a large drawing. I mean, one of the things I loved about art college was we drew in charcoal. You can rub out with a rubber and it just makes you feel different and different ideas come out of that. And then what I'll do is I'll paint a small painting and then I'll start a big painting and it'll usually be the same size as the large drawing because the large drawing has established how big I want to paint. And then I'll go back to the small painting and then I will see what is lacking in the small painting and I'll work from one to the other. If you rely on one thing only, it can be so that it doesn't quite work, it's too shallow. You hope that your work will have depth, and I think coming at it from different angles can really help. It's interesting the way that my own practice dovetails with the teaching in that actually it doesn't work teaching people to work like me. Some people wouldn't draw before they paint. They'd learn what they were painting through painting. And what I hope as a teacher is to help other people to find a way that helps them develop their ideas. One of the real pleasures about going to other people's shows is seeing that difference, you know. So I do hope that people will come to the show and they'll like them as paintings and that they like the textures that I've made, you know, and the scratchings through and the transparency, because they really excite me. That's what I like about painting.